Braves lineup that was going in on the other side, and one of the best middle infielders in all of baseball is right at the top, Ozzie Albies, who hit 33 home runs last season and made the All-Star game. This is a prolific Braves lineup, but they go up against a prolific pitcher in Chris Bassitt.
Bassett's making his first start, his second appearance of the spring. He pitched in relief after Yusei Kikuchi started last Monday. And the big thing for Bassitt today, he said, I'm going to throw more of my pitches than I did in my first outing. Primarily, he used sinkers, cutters, and occasional curveballs in that first outing. And I asked him what he wants to accomplish. He said, just timing. All I want to do is get my timing down and my release down. Not worried about innings, not worried about pitch count. Just want to get my timing.
And we'll see right now who's playing behind Chris today as he tries to work on that timing. The Blue Jays with a lot of regulars.
Yeah, this has got a chance to be fairly close to the regular lineup. Will Robertson, a youngster, gets to start in left, but it's Kiermaier and Springer in center and right. Bichette and Escobar up the middle. Kind of for left at third, and he's going to be a focus at third base all spring long. Vladdy's over at first, and Danny Jansen, starting for the fourth time this spring, will handle the assignment of catching Chris Bassitt this afternoon.
Sun peeking out as we get ready for the first pitch. Here it comes from Bassitt, and Albies strokes it up the middle. First pitch is a base hit here. Ozzie Albies is a heck of a player, the 27-year-old second baseman who's played now in 7 Major League seasons, all for the Braves.
Yeah, Albie's a very, very good player, plays every single day, just like most of his Braves regular teammates. They play every day. Brian Snitker said, hey, they're Major League players, they get paid a lot of money, they should play every day.
Here's a guy who jumped into the everyday role last year, and there you can see, I mean, Albies with more RBIs than Mookie Betts last year, but Orlando Arcia at the plate, and he bounces it foul, 0-1. Arcia, guy they acquired in 2021. They had a ton of injury issues to the Braves that year, still went on to win the World Series. And last year, after the departure of Dansby Swanson, he takes over as the shortstop.
Yeah, they weren't really sure what they were going to get from Arcia, but you can see 17 homers and 65 ribbies. Pretty good production for a guy that can pick it at short. Dansby Swanson is certainly one of the best defensive shortstops in all of baseball. He's now, of course, is playing for the Chicago Cubs.
Bassitt leaning down, listening to his pitch comm. And the 0-2's popped up. Escobar ranging back into right. And Escobar playing second base today makes the catch. There's one out. Eduardo Escobar is a guy kind of like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa in some ways that can find himself in a couple different spots around the diamond.
Yeah, I think that what they want to do is they want to see both Kiner-Falefa and Escobar play a lot this spring, especially Escobar, because he hadn't had an awful lot of at-bats last year and didn't have a good year with the Mets and then went to the Angels at the end, so they want to see him play a lot this spring.
Here's Travis d'Arnaud, and he takes the first pitch outside the zone. d'Arnaud, some Blue Jay fans might remember from 2 pretty significant trades in Blue Jays history. Acquired in the deal that sent Roy Halladay to Philadelphia, and then sent away in the deal that brought R.A. Dickey to Toronto.
Yeah, d'Arnaud has turned into one of the best catchers in all of baseball, and now he's more in a backup role, but he's also kind of like a manager on the field. When he's on the field, a terrific player. d'Arnaud has really established himself as one of the best game callers and leaders behind the plate in all of baseball.
Good eye there from d'Arnaud, taking a pitch just below the zone. 35 years old now is d'Arnaud, and the season before they go out and acquire Sean Murphy, he was an all-star. He was one of the starting all-stars in 2022.
Yeah, the Braves, they have an embarrassment of riches behind the plate with Sean Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud. They also have 2 of the best catching instructors in all of baseball in Sal Fasano and Eddie Perez. So Brian Snitker, he himself, a catcher, really appreciates what they get from the backstops on this Braves ball club.
Bassitt trying to find the zone and does here on the 3-0.
Speaking of Snitker, he's in his 8th full season. He took over as the manager May 17, 2016 for Freddie Gonzalez, who was fired. But Snitker's been in the Braves organization his whole life.
Runner leaves on the pitch. It's a called strike, but Jansen didn't get rid of it there, so it's going to be a stolen base for Albies. And it's 3-2 now with a runner in scoring position.
Albies is always very good at picking his spots. He was 13 for 14 last year. That's his first stolen base of the season, and this is something we're going to see more of this year. Base runners are going to run, and they have really played into the new rule situation. The limited step-offs, the increased pitch clock, the big bases now. You're going to see a lot more base running than you have in the past.
We already saw a bit of an uptick last year. Here's the 3-2. Ground ball to short, and it gets past Bichette into left field. Getting the wave, Albies. Robertson with the throw home, cut off. And the Braves are on the board.
I think Bo got ahead of himself. He saw Albies between second and third, and he knew he had to play on Albies trying to advance, and because he was kind of distracted, he missed that ball. That's an easy play for Bo, and he'll make that play 9 times out of 10. But watch where Albies is. I mean, he's hung up. He takes a step 2, 3, 4, third base, and then the third base coach, Matsui Asasopu, waves him home after the ball gets past Bichette at short.
Yeah, just put his eyes on Albies for a moment there, and they ruled out a base hit, by the way, for Travis d'Arnaud. So an RBI for the catcher. Here's Blue Jay last season, now Atlanta Brave, Jordan Luplow.
You forget he made the opening day roster and actually played to start the season. He made 4 starts for the Blue Jays in April.
7 games total for the Blue Jays. Spent almost 50 games with AAA Buffalo. Then ended up with the Minnesota Twins. Played a good handful of games for them. Did not play in the playoffs, though.
Parts of 7 seasons in the major leagues.
Bassett's 1-1. High drive to left field, and Robertson will watch it leave the yard. 2-run home run, Jordan Luplow, and the Braves offense living up to its name so far. It's 3-0.
307 home runs last year. It ties a major league record, and they have a prolific offense. Of course, Luplow wasn't part of that, and this team has really put together one of the greatest offensive seasons in the history of baseball last year. Travis d'Arnaud had an RBI single, and Luplow drives him in with a home run. Put a short, quick swing on that fastball as Bassett was just trying to get that fastball to the inside, and Luplow took him deep.
First pitch to Luis Liberato is inside. Chris Bassett's scheduled today to go 3 innings if possible, but pitch count's obviously a factor. The 1-0 pitch is called strike 1. And you can also, if a pitch count is driven too high in the spring in an inning, you can take a guy out and then just bring him right back in for the next inning. There is re-entry, which we saw yesterday on the Yankees side with Garrett Cole after Daniel Vogelbach hit that big home run.
Yeah, the managers and coaches aren't that concerned with pitch count other than pitch count in a particular inning. They're more concerned about ups and downs. How many times a pitcher will get up and down during an outing, and this is the second outing for Bassett. He'd like to get 3 ups in this outing today. I asked Bassett yesterday, I said, what's your goal today? He said, just want to throw more of my pitches, just working on my timing. The more you pitch, that timing gets more refined. Pete Barker understands what it takes, especially for these veterans, to get ready. I think that's the important thing for them. They want to throw, they want to repeat their delivery, and they want to get all their pitches into the mix.
Yeah, the results don't seem to be much of a factor to a lot of these guys. They just want to get a feel for it. Obviously, far from Bassett's first spring training. He's done this plenty of times. Swing and a miss there by Liberato, and Bassett bounces back with a strikeout. There are 2 down.
Yeah, you know what? It doesn't mean much to the players, but boy, the fans get really nervous when their pitchers start giving up home runs in spring training, but it doesn't bother Chris Bassett at all. I mean, he's got a goal, just to refine his pitches. He wants to see the hitter's reaction to specific pitches in specific locations, and he'll take that information, bring it back the next time he goes out to the mound.
Bassett against Eli White here, a guy who's played over 135 major league games across 4 major league seasons, was mostly a AAA player, as you see, last year. Bassett has thrown 20 pitches so far. And John Schneider getting some extra help. You know, they got Don Mattingly, they got DeMarlo Hale, but that doesn't mean you can't get, you know, a couple fresh voices in there as well.
Yeah, and you know what? Even though they're not really deep voices, they're important voices.
Swing and a miss there. It's 1-2.
That is the beauty of the game where we stand today. And obviously, given what has happened here, Eric Swanson and all that situation with his youngster, that I think everybody appreciates the extra opportunities you have to spend time with your kids.
Absolutely. As it gets a foul back there on a breaking ball. And yeah, it is such a great opportunity you mentioned earlier for John Schneider, whose family is in this area. You know, they're around during the season, but to get this amount of uninterrupted time being back with them must be as uninterrupted as a major league manager has really in his life.
Absolutely. John and Jess, they live in Clearwater, as we mentioned, with their 2 boys, Gunnar and Grayson. And I tell you what, their boys are all boys. They are really into baseball, and they are all boys, that's for sure.
Schneider's club trying to get back on the bats here. One more strike is what Chris Bassett needs, and it's a broken bat roller to third, charging an IKF. Tough play, and he made it to end the top of the first inning. Braves score 3, though. Former Blue Jay Jordan Luplow with a 2-run blast. The Blue Jays, though, still flashing some leather, and they'll try to turn some of that great defense into some offense when we come back. 1 through 7, I think you can all but guarantee are on this team. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Justin Turner, Kevin Kiermaier, the off-season acquisitions, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the carryover, big slugger from last year, looking for a big season in 2024. Going up against Reynaldo Lopez, who the Braves are at least looking at, Buck, as potentially a starter this year after the last couple seasons in the pen.
Yeah, they're going to stretch him out. He's now 30 years old. They originally signed by the Washington Nationals out of the Dominican Republic. And he's bounced around a little bit. He was traded from Washington to the White Sox. And then he was traded again.
It's in that Lucas Giolito deal to the Angels last year.
It's interesting. He and Giolito have been traded together twice.
And when they were both released, when the Angels kind of just ended up releasing a ton of guys, they both got claimed by Cleveland as well. So this is the first time that they're not on the same team as Giolito embarks on his first season with the Red Sox, and here Lopez is trying to break in with the Braves.
Yeah, Lopez started his career in the starting rotation. He's always been a starter. Then he moved into the bullpen in 2022. Full-time, made just 1 start, appeared in 61 games, and pitched well. Had a very good ERA that year, 2.76, and not really overpowering anymore. He uses a fastball, slider, and a changeup. But they're going to stretch him out. You know, their rotation looks to be pretty well set. Spencer Strider, Max Fried, Charlie Morton, Chris Sale, who they've extended, and Bryce Elder. I guess you could say Elder is in competition with Lopez to see who's going to be that 5th starter.
Lopez is 3-2 to Springer, fouled back. George Springer getting another start here today for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, Springer just playing in his 2nd game. He was 0 for 2 the first time up, had a couple of plate appearances. That was all. He's slow playing his spring.
We'll actually talk to George coming up later in this game. That'll be a lot of fun. Three-two again. And Springer spoils another one.
Now, we talk about Chris Bassett working on his timing. The same is true for the Blue Jays hitters. It's all about timing. You know, you hear him say it all the time. I want to see pitches. I want to see pitches. And Springer's seen 7 pitches in his first at bat today. So that's one of the things he was hoping to accomplish.
And he'll earn a walk there. One of the reasons that he continues to hit in the leadoff spot, regardless of who he's playing for year after year, Springer is a tough plate appearance for a lot of pitchers.
I think everybody, when we've talked about this throughout the spring, everybody understands that not one man, even Vladdy Guerrero, can win a championship for you. It's going to take a team effort. When we've seen that play out over the years with Mike Trout and the Angels. Mike Trout, the best player in the game for a long time, and they haven't been able to take that and translate it into a championship.
Last couple of years, they probably had 2 of the best players in the game for a while. Vladdy swings at the first pitch, and this could be 2. Albies picks it up, flip to Arcia, and a throw over to first. That's a 4-6-3 double play.
Well, the Braves, we talk about their offense, we talk about their pitching, and they also have pretty good defense. They committed just 82 errors last year. And one thing that Brian Snitker loves about his ball club, his regulars play every day. And we mentioned Ozzie Albies played 148 games, and Arcia, his double playmate, he too was out there every single day. Matt Olson, the first baseman, played all but 14 innings last year.
Justin Turner takes the first pitch for a strike, 0-1. And we were talking before the game, and you were saying this is a tradition that Snitker carries over from the Bobby Cox days.
The uniforms, they have their uniforms on during batting practice. I said, Snit, what's up with that? He said, that's the tribute to Bobby Cox. He said, as long as I am here, the Braves will wear the uniforms on the field during batting practice and during games, of course, and they will never wear their glasses to cover up the A on their hat. Respect.
Swing and a miss in a strong first inning for Reynaldo Lopez. He gets a double play ball and strikes out Turner to end the first. 3-0 Atlanta.
But if he isn't, Ben, that could create an opening in the number 5 spot in the Blue Jays rotation that either Mitch White or Bowden Francis may be summoned to fill.
Bowden Francis scheduled to go today after Chris Bassett, and Bassett getting Leori Garcia to roll over to first. Guerrero takes it to the bag. 1 out, and certainly that makes things very interesting for Bowden Francis. He already had an interesting camp going on, was fighting for a spot regardless, but there could be another spot open.
Absolutely, and I don't think Alek Manoah was guaranteed a spot in that 5th spot. I think he understood it. He was competing for an opportunity to be that 5th spot, but you know, here we are on the 2nd of March. He was supposed to pitch on the 3rd of March. Now, if they shut him down, say they shut him down for 4 or 5 days, he doesn't start throwing again till the 7th of March. Then he throws a couple of side sessions and then gets back into live batting practice, and it could be the middle of the week of the 11th before he starts to pitch again, and all of a sudden you're kind of running out of time to see if he can be ready for the regular season. You know, the regular season starts March 28th.
Yeah,
it's not April.
It's an early start to the regular season this year. Will Robertson with a bad break initially, but makes the catch there on the Luke Williams fly out. There is a bit of wind today. The flag's out in right center field, blowing in toward home plate, maybe a little bit blowing in from left field there, which might have fooled Robertson for a moment.
Yeah, the last couple of days have been pretty breezy down in Florida. Not really the case today, but it looked like Robertson got a little bit of a late read on that ball.
With 2 outs, J.P. Martinez at the plate. He's the 9-hitter today, a 27-year-old who spent last season in AAA. Did play those 17 games with the Rangers, the first 17 games of his major league career. And so you'd have to imagine he has a piece of silverware, at least, maybe a ring for playing at least a portion of the season with the Rangers. Line drive to right field is foul. I remember a season, I want to say it was 2010, where Benji Molina started the year with the Giants and then was traded to Texas, and they played each other in the World Series, and he was guaranteed to get a ring in some shape or form. Now, the Giants ended up winning, so he ended up getting a ring from the team that beat him in the World Series. But, you know, not everyone gets a ring, so I guess you got to take it.
That's pretty cool, yeah. And you know what? You got a chance to get 2 World Series shares.
Yeah. Looper to shallow center, but Kiermaier started pretty far in anyway. He'll make the catch easily, and Bassett has a much quicker top of the 2nd there. He retires the Braves 1-2-3 in order, and Bo Bichette.
The team before we start, and he did. And it has an impact. You know, he's one of your best players, a young guy that has taken a leadership role very early in his career. That's a good sign for the Blue Jays.
Lopez misses inside to Bichette. Blue Jays went hitless in the first, just a leadoff walk.
This is the 4th game for Bo. He's 4 for 9 in the early going in spring training, but hasn't hit an extra base hit just yet.
Chopper up the middle. That's trouble and a base hit for Bo.
Well, Bo can hit in his sleep. There's no question about that. But I think the goal for him and the team this year is to drive in a few more runs and hit the ball with a little more authority. He can always get hits. He's just got such a great feel for the barrel of the bat, where it is and how you make contact. And when you're leading off an inning, it's not a bad thing to get a leadoff base hit. He's hitting 4th today. He's hit 2nd. He'll hit 3rd, but chances are during the regular season, he'll be hitting in that 2 spot behind George Springer.
It is interesting to see him in the 4 spot as Danny Jansen comes up, and this is definitely a guy that you want to just get on base in front of, because Danny Jansen, when he is in the lineup for the Blue Jays, drives in a lot of runs.
15 doubles and 17 homers last year in very limited action. He suffered injuries, and certainly the kind of injuries that are just freakish injuries, hit by pitches. He broke his finger, and it took him a long time to come back from that. It's a big year for Danny. He's a free agent at the end of this season.
Bichette shuffling around at first a ton, and he ends up staying put here. Pitches low, 2-1.
Travis d'Arnaud early in his career was a very good thrower, but then he's hurt his shoulder, and last year he threw out just 13% of the runners. The National League average for caught stealing was just 18%. Going to have to improve on that number overall.
Lopez worked quickly so that Bo Bichette couldn't do much there, but we'll see if Bo thinks about running at some point. Jansen, though, in a count that could help him here, try and generate an extra base hit ahead 3-1. Hard line drive to left and a slide. They're going to call it a catch. Nice play out there by Jordan Luplow to take a hit away from Danny Jansen.
Yeah, regular season, the Blue Jays, of course, would have a look at this replay to see whether or not Luplow indeed caught the ball or else he trapped it. But it's a sinking, hooking drive, and he goes to the backhand and just picks it. Looks like he did catch it before it hit the turf. Good focus right there, and it appears to be a clean catch.
So 1 out now on the play by Luplow. Kevin Kiermaier up, and he takes strike 1. Kiermaier, another guy in his second game.
Yeah, Kiermaier, he too, like Springer, the first time out, had 2 plate appearances.
Bichette takes off, and the pitch is lined to left field. Luplow won't be able to grab that one. He did deke Bo out a little bit, who thought for a second that that ball was caught, but it's a base hit for Kiermaier, and now 2 singles for the Blue Jays here in the second.
Yeah, I think Bo was running on his own because he never looked back to see where the ball was hit, and he had a break earlier in the inning, and Kiermaier slaps it to left field. Watch Bo run. He breaks, and he doesn't look back to see where the ball is. He's not really sure where it's hit, but he looks around and sees it land safely in left, and he stops at second.
So a runner in scoring position for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. IKF about to enter his 7th major league season. Has technically been with 4 organizations, spent literally 1 day with the Minnesota Twins. He was traded from Texas to the Twins to the Yankees in 1 off season.
Yeah, we mentioned Kiner-Falefa will get a lot of opportunities this spring, just so the Blue Jays can get a feel for exactly what they have in IKF. This is his 4th start of the season.
IKF got a game at short recently, but figures to be the 3rd baseman for the most part for the Blue Jays. Bichette on second, Kiermaier on first. And the pitch. Good eye there by IKF. He's worked a 3-1 count.
Yeah, this is we talked about Vladdy and his focus, and this is a perfect example where you got to really narrow your focus as a hitter. 3-1 count. Take a borderline pitch and do some damage if you get one over the heart of the plate.
Swing and a pop-up drifting into center field, racing in, and it's going to be caught on a basket over the shoulder, and Albies doubles off Bichette to end the inning. Strong defensive plays from the Braves once again. They're up 3-0 at the end of 2. Everyone tuning in on Bally Sports South as well. The Atlanta Braves trying to put together another very strong season. Winners of 104 games last year. And Ozzie Albies, who's in for his 2nd chance at the plate today, is a very big part of that.
It sure is, and he's been a big part of it for a long time. And, you know, Albies now still just 27 years old from Curaçao. And, you know, he's been an everyday player. He Led the league in at-bats back in 2019 and also led him in hits, 189. He led the National League with those 189 hits. Bassett's able to drop that curveball into the outside corner. He's really thrown a lot of those early slow curveballs early in camp.
Bassett looking for a strikeout after Albies came up with the base hit last time up. An appeal and a no swing. Mention Albies from Curacao. Great history of players from Curacao playing for the Braves. Of course, Andrew Jones. They had Andrelton Simmons, the great defensive shortstop. Kenley Jansen spent a year with the Braves. The 2-2 fouled off. Even guys like Jair Jurgens, Randall Simon, a lot of players from Curacao have signed internationally with the Braves.
Yeah, I had a chance to do the World Baseball Classic and watch Team Netherlands, and they were loaded with talent, great players. Xander Bogaerts, he's from Aruba. He was on that Team Netherlands as well. Yeah, Curacao has always produced some great baseball players. The Netherlands team always representative. Andrew Jones is always involved with that team. Hensley Mullins has been the manager and hitting coach for that team. Bert Blyleven gets involved as the pitching coach. They're a lot of fun.
Two from Bassett again. And this time he produces the ground ball to Escobar. Easy play at second. And one out here. Chris Bassett's now retired 6 batters in a row.
Yeah, and that's what he's looking for, the consistency and the ability to get quick outs. And he's out there reminding himself, hey, you got to finish that splitter when you throw it. Just finish it off and you'll get better action on it. But that's what spring training's all about. That's why you have a long spring training, so the pitchers can refine their skills. You know, if you talk to position players, they'd say, well, you know, about 3-4 weeks of spring training would be fine with me, but you can't. You need to have the time, the extended games, to allow your starting pitchers to get ready for the season.
Ground ball to third, ranging to his left is IKF. And a nice stretch by Vladdy as well. 2 outs. Yeah, even though a lot of these guys throw in some fashion during the offseason, they do have to heat their arms back up. It takes a lot to be in Major League form.
Yeah, and it's not even just your arms. It's your legs. It's your overall body. You can be in great shape when you get here. But Kevin Gausman told me the other day, he says, you get in great shape so you can get into game shape during spring training. And it just takes a while. The adrenaline, the excitement of being back in a big league atmosphere, even though it's spring training, you just have a different set of muscle soreness when you start, and that's why you have to appear in 5 games as a starter.
How long into spring training do you start to then get that itch for the regular season where the novelty wears off and you really want to get into the games that count for the record?
Well, the guys like Gausman and Bassett, I'm sure the novelty wears off very quickly. They want to get started, but they know it's a process. And, you know, as you get older, you have to work even harder to get your body back in shape and build up to the rigors of starting. Chad Dallas there in the background, he had another decent outing against New York last night. He's kind of an interesting guy, probably ticketed to start at AAA, but, you know, with the development with Manoah, everybody in the pecking order kind of moves up a little bit.
Chad Dallas, one of the strongest performing pitchers in the system last year. Darno with a line drive, and Robertson crouches to make the catch and end the inning. Beautiful day in Florida once again. The Blue Jays on Sportsnet.
Pretty good day for fishing down there at the old bridge, and those people there, you never know what you're going to catch there. You can catch trout, you can catch a redfish, might catch a snook. We should be doing that, Ben.
Yeah, maybe on the upcoming off days. Eduardo Escobar fouls it back, and it's 0-1. Although you know, something gets too big, I feel like I'm a little bit at risk here of getting pulled into the water with that fish.
If you get pulled into the water, I want to see the fish.
Swing and a miss from the switch hitter Escobar. Hits for a little bit more production from the right side than he does the left side. Here on a minor league deal with the Blue Jays, 35-year-old Major League veteran. Called strike 3. Nice pitch there from Lopez for out number 1.
Second strike of the ball game for Reynaldo Lopez. He struck out Justin Turner on a slow curveball, something that he's added into the mix this year. Working as a reliever, he had trimmed down his arsenal of the fastball slider, and that actually looked like it might have been a changeup that caught the outside corner. Off-speed pitch right in a good spot.
Yeah, he's going to be a different pitcher in some ways, moving from the pen if he gets back into the rotation. And one example, at least, of this is his fastball. His four-seamer averaged 98 last year. It's been sitting around 95 today. Will Robertson in left field today. Made a great play in right field a couple days ago. He came up throwing on a single with a runner trying to go first to third and threw him out at third base. Swing and a miss there, though, and back-to-back case here for Lopez, who has looked really good today, Buck.
Yeah, he sure does. And you know what? He knows what's on the line, an opportunity. He's going to be on this Braves team. It's just a matter of what role they will slide him into. And we mentioned their starting rotation. The top 4 in the rotation pretty much locked in with Strider, Fried, Morton, and Chris Sale. Bryce Elder, he's just 24 years old, and he pitched well for him last year.
Springer bounces it to first, picked up by Williams, back to Lopez. A 7-pitch inning for Reynaldo Lopez, all strikes, and he sets down the Blue Jays 1-2-3 again. A third of the way through, it's 3 here, 3-0 Braves, top of the 4th inning. Buck, we thought at least the plan was that Bowden Francis would come in after Chris Bassett, but instead John Schneider going to Zulueta.
Yeah, Zulueta, this will be his 3rd appearance of the spring. Last year in Buffalo, 45 games. But I think I have an idea why Zulueta here and not Bowden Francis, because they're in the 4th spot in the lineup, and they would just as soon have Bowden Francis face the top of the order where you have 3 big leaguers, Ozzie Albies, Orlando Arcia, and Travis d'Arnaud. And they made the trip all the way up here to Dunedin. You can bet they're going to get at least 3 plate appearances.
Here's Jordan Luplow, who has the biggest swing of this game so far. Hit a 2-run home run back in the 1st. It's actually the 2nd year in a row that Luplow is starting with the Braves. The Blue Jays had him last year after he was released by the Braves. He had signed a $1 million deal with Atlanta in the offseason in 2022, heading into 2023, and now is back with them on a minor league deal.
Yeah, there aren't many opportunities if you're in camp on a minor league deal with the Atlanta Braves. I mean, they're pretty well set in what they do, and you look at their roster. We talked about their rotation, but their roster is pretty well set. David Fletcher, a non-roster invite, formerly of the Angels, is in camp with them, and he's off to a good start in the spring. Luis Guillorme, also formerly of the Mets, and former Blue Jay Forrest Wall, making a bid to make this team. He's already hit 3 home runs in the spring. He's 5 for 10 in the spring.
He had a multi-homer game 2 days ago, did Forrest Wall. But yeah, there are just so many quality players here on the Braves that it is hard to push into the roster. I mean, they traded for Jared Kelenic this year. He figures to be a part of their outfield. It's a loaded roster once again for Brian Snitker's club.
Yeah, and Kelenic early on is penciled in to be the everyday left fielder. And of course, they have Michael Harris II in center, and that fellow named
Bo Bichette makes the catch.
Play right field. I think they're going to stick with him in right now.
I think so too. I think he's done enough. You know, just 41 homers and 73 stolen bases last year.
That's pretty good work.
And he hit about 340.
You know, he's heading into his 7th big league season. You know, he's just 26 years old.
The Braves have brought a ton of players up at young ages, and it's worked out for them. Luis Liberato sending it to IKF's backhand side. And another good play by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at 3rd. He's won a Gold Glove at that position, and he is looking very comfortable early on in his new infield.
Yeah, man, you know what? He was shaded to guard against the pulled ground ball, but it's hit back to his right, and he has to go to the backhand side, takes an extra step, rights himself, and Vladdy helps him out over at first, handling that low throw. But yeah, so far so good over at 3rd base for IKF.
3 assists today already for IKF. And Eli White takes strike one, the third baseman on the other side. Zulueta missing inside. Zulueta, an interesting guy. A lot talked about last year. There hasn't been as much coverage of him this year as the former Blue Jay Ken Giles is getting loose in the pen as well.
100 miles Giles, no longer throwing 100, but he's been throwing the ball pretty well for Brian Snitker, the Braves manager so far this spring. And Chu is on a minor league contract trying to make this ball club.
Another pitch misses low here. It's 3-1, and just like the guys trying to break into the outfield, the Braves also making additions to their already very strong bullpen. They brought in Aaron Bummer this year. Obviously, Reynaldo Lopez potentially could be in their pen. That's a 5-pitch walk for Eli White. And the Braves, figure to be, you never know, but figure to be a pretty strong club again this year.
I would go on the side of yes. Brian asked Brian Snitker, I said, you got a pretty good ball club? He go, yeah, we do. He said, obviously you want to stay away from injuries to the key players like Acuna and Austin Riley. Austin Riley played nearly every day last year as well. People forget about him. Matt Olson, we mentioned, the first baseman, played all but 14 innings for the Braves last year.
Leori Garcia spent 10 years in the major leagues, and a pickoff move, and a good one is going to retire White to end the side. Zulueta making up for the walk there and nabbing White to end the inning.
Pretty quick move by Zulueta. White's running, and he's out there in no man's land.
Get due up third this inning. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Justin Turner, and Bichette to hit. Ken Giles on the mound right now for Atlanta. Buck, what do you make of this 2-3-4 before we get into Giles, with Guerrero hitting second, Turner hitting third, and Bichette hitting fourth, rather than it being Bo, Vlad, Turner like a lot of people would expect?
Yeah, I just think John Snyder's just mixing it up a little bit to give the hitters a little bit different look. I just think, and John's not made any statements about it, but I think eventually the lineup to start opening day will be Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, and Turner in the cleanup spot. I think Justin Turner is exactly what you want in that cleanup spot. Let the guys get on base. They can obviously drive in runs as well, but Turner is the guy you want on with multiple runners on base.
Turner with 96 driven in, which was just a couple more than Guerrero, who drove in 94 last year to lead the Blue Jays.
You know what's interesting about Turner's year? He had the most plate appearances of his career last year
at
in
38.
Boston. Also drove in the most runs of his career.
Also had the most hits of his career.
Supposed to slow down when you get old. He is not old by any means, especially in the mind. He loves to talk hitting and loves to have these situations, and that's why I think he's able to perform so well in the later stages of his career.
Turner on deck, Guerrero at the plate, who's 0 for 1 today. Ken Giles, the former Blue Jays closer, brings the count to 3-2, missing with that pitch. Giles closing games for the Blue Jays in 2019 most recently. Pitched a little bit in 2020, but has dealt with injuries, and that has really derailed what was a very strong start to his career. He strikes out Guerrero to start this inning.
Well, he caught with a borderline strike as Giles retires the first batter of his outing here this afternoon. Giles, as we mentioned, at one point threw 100 miles an hour, and that pitch was down and away. Vladdy thought it was off the plate, but he's rung up by the home plate umpire, DJ Rayburn.
Here's the pitch to Justin Turner. These two would have faced off in the 2017 World Series. Giles with the Astros at that point, pitched in 7 playoff games. The 1-0. 2 balls, no strikes. And Giles was very effective in his time with the Blue Jays. He converted 38 of 39 save opportunities for Toronto.
Yeah, and then he got hurt, and he took a long time to come back. And since then, he's not really had any full-time opportunities to pitch in the big leagues. This is his second outing of the spring. The first outing went well for him. He pitched 1 inning and struck out the side against the Phillies on the 28th of February. Trying to build on that good outing. So he's faced 4 this spring and has 4 strikeouts. That streak will come to an end with a walk to Justin Turner.
4-pitch walk, and now the aforementioned Bo Bichette comes up, who singled kind of to left center on the ground back in the 2nd inning. You had mentioned earlier that you think Bo is looking to do maybe a little bit more damage is the word that tends to be used to drive in a few more runs. As he grounds the ball sharply to third, it's picked up by Eli White to second for 1. Albies to first, 5-4-3. Inning-ending double play. Strong inning for Ken Giles against his former club. And here's Bowden Francis on the mound for the Blue Jays, coming in now, and likely Buck pitching 3 innings for the Blue Jays if his pitch count will allow.
Yeah, and we mentioned Zilleretta pitched the 4th inning because he was in the middle of the lineup with some minor leaguers there. Now he's going to get a former big leaguer and a guy that's played a lot in Larry Garcia. And then I think more than anything, they're looking at the top of the order with Albies, Garcia, and Dorneau, just to get a read for where Bowden is. This is his 2nd appearance of the spring. He's pitched against the Yankees, and it kind of a rough outing that day, but that was last Sunday. And I'm going to give him a pass on that day. That's the day they heard the news about Eric Swanson's son Toby, and I think all the pitchers were a little bit rattled by that, and their thoughts and prayers were with the Swanson family for sure. So I think this would be a better outing for him, and that's a curveball. I love that pitch. There aren't many guys that can spin the ball like Bowden Francis. And there's a lot of things I like about him. I like his size. I like his physique. I like his demeanor on the mound. And he can throw this breaking ball for strikes just about at will.
Gets a ground ball here to second. Eduardo Escobar with an easy play there.
Bowden Francis was picked up along with Trevor Richards in a trade for Rowdy Tellez back on the 6th of July in 2021. He wants to be a starter. He's been a starter throughout most of his minor league career. Last year, he appeared in 20 games, all pitching out of the bullpen. But he had some interesting thoughts about the difference between starting and relieving. I thought it was pretty interesting, his mindset about that. What he said was when you come in relief, these starters always set the tone for the game. So you just come in and try to recreate that. He said, when you're starting, you can set the tone for a game. And he says, I want to be a starter. I want to be that guy.
That's a starter's fastball right there. 96. He put it past Williams to get to 0-2.
Well, it's 96 on the radar gun, but it also plays up. He has a nice delivery. I think he hides the ball very well, and the ball seems to jump on the hitters and catch them off guard. Plays a little bit better than the velocity.
Pop up behind first. Springer making the call. Now Guerrero calls for it as the wind pushed it a little bit back. And let's go to Arden Zwelling with more on Bowden Francis.
You know, guys, I think another reason the Blue Jays targeted this pocket of the Braves order is because Lurie Garcia, JP Martinez, and Ozzie Albies are all going to be hitting from the left side against Bowden Francis here. And attacking left-handed hitting has been such a focus for him this spring as he works to develop that new splitter of his.
Thanks, Arden. That splitter breaking away from left-handed hitters. JP Martinez at the plate. And that's going to be a breaking ball to start the at-bat. What do you think about the splitter, though, Buck?
Yeah, I think the splitter is going to play for him because of his delivery. You can see he sets the ball in his fingers on that split finger grip. He threw 3 of them in his outing against the Yankees and had pretty good results with it. And that was one right there that was up in the zone a little bit. Desired location of a split finger pitch, obviously down. Because by definition, it's a split fingered fastball. You want the hitters to think fastball, and they'll offer at it, and then that split movement will take it out of the zone. That's another good fastball at 96, and I'm telling you, he's got all of the pitches to be a starting pitcher. The question has been, will his stuff maintain into the third, fourth, and fifth inning of his outings, and that's what they're going to find out.
Here's his 1-2 to Martinez. Just outside. And what do you think they're looking to maintain? Is it velocity? Is it shape of the pitches, or is it both?
It's both. It's a little bit of both. I'm not a big pure velocity guy. I like location. I like movement. Yeah, you might lose a little bit in velocity, but if you can locate and get the movement you want, I think you can pitch deeper into games. I think the biggest challenge for pitchers nowadays is they never get to pitch enough to really learn who they are, even in the minor leagues.
Here's Hurston Waldrep getting loose, a big minor league prospect right now for the Braves. Maybe a guy who can push for the major league roster as well. Foul back almost went right to us, but it was caught by the netting. Still 2-2.
The most pitches, the most innings that Bowden Francis ever threw was back in 2019 in AA at Biloxi. He threw 128 2/3 innings. And it's so hard when you don't have a lot of innings under your belt to really understand who you are.
At Biloxi, the Shuckers are in the Milwaukee system. You mentioned earlier he was brought over in the Rowdy Tellez trade. He and Trevor Richards coming to the Blue Jays.
That last pitch was a splitter that really got away from him. It was really of no consequence. It wasn't close enough for the hitter to offer.
3-2 heater fouled back.
Again, as Arden mentioned, you know, it is a good test for him to see the left-handed hitters, and especially, you know, you don't want to walk anybody in this situation. Just thinking about game situations during the regular season, bottom of the order, make this guy hit you.
Good battle though from Martinez here, who is doing his best to flip that lineup over with Ozzie Albies on deck.
Yeah, this is another test for Bowden Francis. This will be the 10th pitch of this at bat.
The 3-2 again. And another foul off, this one landing in the Blue Jays dugout.
JP Martinez is from Cuba. He actually was a teammate of Ariel Rodriguez in Cuba a few years ago in the Cuban League. Putting up a good battle against Bowden Francis here.
He's fouled off 6 pitches, but he pops this one up. Springer should have a chance on that. And he'll make the easy play to end the inning. 1-2-3 for Bowden Francis, and halfway through, it's still 3-0 Braves in the game right now. A draft pick of the Braves last year who impressed so much in his limited season. He made it all the way to AAA for a start, and there's some discussion, Buck, that he could even push for the major league roster this year, just a year removed from his college ball.
University of Florida up in Gainesville, not far from here. He also pitched a little bit at University of Southern Mississippi and Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Finished up his 23 seasons at the University of Florida pitching for the Gators, and he was a starter. He made 19 starts at Florida, pitched 101 2/3 innings, and then went right to A-ball, Augusta, Rome, AA, moved all the way up to AAA, as Ben mentioned. Interesting young man.
And a guy who turned 22 years old yesterday. So happy belated birthday to him. He's going up against Danny Jansen. And it's got to be thrilling for Waldrep, who is from Cairo, Georgia, and told MLB Tonight recently that he's been a Braves fan as long as he can remember watching baseball.
Listed at 6'2", 210. He certainly has the physique to be a big-time starting pitcher. First 24th pick overall in that draft in 23. University of Florida, boy, and they produced some players.
2-2 is tapped behind the plate. Nice bare hand there by Darno, but it's not going to matter for anything.
Yeah, he tried to fool the umpire, too, as he jumped out in front of home plate. Said, I caught it in fair territory, man. 35 years old, he can still move around a little bit. Watch how he jumps on this ball quickly. He catches it in the air and then jumps into fair territory. Nice try, Travis.
If it was like a save in basketball, he might have had a case there, but instead it'll be another 2-2, and Jansen struck out looking. Braves can certainly pitch.
Yeah, they can pitch. They've been a great pitching team for a long time, and Arden gets a strikeout there. Looked like a changeup. He dropped on the outside corner.
Here's Kevin Kiermaier, 1 for 1 with a single. Kiermaier, in coming back to the Blue Jays, has talked about getting a little bit more out of his body this year in terms of just driving the ball a little bit more. He said in his opening press conference, and to be clear, he's not trying to hit a million home runs. That's not the guy that he is. But he said, I'm 225 pounds, and he didn't feel like he'd been using his legs really in his swing before this year.
Well, you know what? I think he needs to understand who he is, and at this point of his career, it's hard to change what you've been your whole career. I think hitting in the bottom of the order with his speed, his ability to get on base, I think it's a good mix. He served a role in the ninth hitter role as well as anybody in baseball. And John Mattingly says, you know, just be the best version of yourself. And I think that's what he would expect from Kevin Kiermaier.
Yeah, I went to talk to Kevin to ask him about some of that, and he was very clear. He knows that getting on base, using his speed, and trying to be the best nine-hitter in baseball again is the main thing that, you know, this team wants and needs him to do if they're going to be successful.
Yeah, everybody has a role. You don't need everybody to be a 100 RBI guy. Some guys score runs, other guys move runners along, and then the big dudes, they're the ones that are supposed to knock everybody in. You see these shoes, these are a pair of old shoes he's had for a couple of years because they have great support for his feet. He said the newer shoes, they might be light and comfortable, but they don't have that support.
Kiermaier takes that one all the way to the track, but it stays in the yard, 2 down. And you know, he's a guy who's played a very physically demanding position for a long time and puts a lot of weight on his feet running around in the outfield.
Yeah, and he plays on turf. And you can see they're kind of purple. They remind you of Viking shoes more than anything. Yeah, he said that's the last pair I have, and he's going to utilize them and make sure he keeps his feet as strong as possible.
Isaiah Kiner-Falefa takes the first pitch low, 1-0. Blue Jays without a hit since the second inning. Kiner-Falefa powers a ball, foul down the right field line. A ball and a strike. I was listening to Sportsnet's Arden Zwelling and Ben Nicholson-Smith recently on At the Letters, and they were talking about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's penchant for hitting fastballs and hitting elevated fastballs. The 1-1 is a foul tip, and it's 1-2, and that is an element that the Blue Jays offense, you know, potentially struggled with a little bit last year. They had a couple guys that were beaten frequently by elevated fastballs. So what do you think about IKF potentially adding that wrinkle to the offense?
Yeah, and we've talked about this a little bit. You know what? There's been a trend in baseball. High fastball was important for pitchers the last couple of years. Now the hitters have gotten pretty good at adjusting. Don Mattingly's been working hard the last couple of years on hitters commanding that upper part of the zone, and pitchers, and we've talked about it often this spring, pitchers understand they got to work down in the zone a little bit more than they have in the past, but IKF can handle a fastball.
2-2 heater is down and away.
And he understands who he is too, and he knows that, you know what, as basically he didn't have a regular role the last couple of seasons, so you got to be ready to hit the fastball when you get a chance to play. Can't expect to be great on breaking balls when you don't play a lot.
Let's go down to the aforementioned Arden Zwelling.
Well, I can expand on that because I've talked to Isaiah about his ability hitting those elevated fastballs, four-seamers in particular. He said he doesn't know why, but he just picks up that spin very well. And you can look back over the course of his career, and he's got home runs off of Kevin Gausman fastballs, Garrett Cole fastballs, Justin Verlander fastballs. So certainly an area of his game where he excels, Ben.
Thanks, Arden. And yeah, I think it's an exciting thing for the Blue Jays there to have in their offense as they try and match up day by day with different pitchers. Eduardo Escobar to the plate now, trying to extend this bottom of the fifth. Escobar, a guy who hit at least 20 homers every season from 2017 to 2022, including a 35-homer campaign in 2019. Fly ball to right center. And that will be a routine play to retire Escobar and end the inning. The Blue Jays strand the 2-out walk through 5 innings. It's 3-0 Atlanta. By right fielder George Springer. George here with Ben Schulman and Buck Martinez. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Appreciate it, guys.
George, you've played 2 games now, and do you have a goal? Do you have a number, or do you just go by how you feel in a game here in the spring?
I mean, I don't have a goal. I think the goal is to get as prepared as you possibly can. You know, I don't like to try to put a number on it, because ultimately, you know, once the season starts, you still need some time. You know, because now you got to adjust to a guy who's, you know, he's primed and you know, he's firing on all cylinders. So it's all good. No, it's been a good first, I don't know, 5 or 6 at bats. I'll go from there.
You had one of your highest usage seasons last year, 154 games played, almost 700 plate appearances. What do you think allowed you to be in so many games?
The training staff, the strength staff, you know, I think kind of understanding my body more, you know, understanding when things, you know, feel good, when things don't feel good. But at the same time, you know, I just owe a lot to the training staff.
Yeah, they all do a great job keeping the, I mean, the pitchers are healthy, you position players are healthy. George, when you look at this team now, and Bo has talked about it, you know, you're not the favorites to win the division. You kind of downplay that. How does that play into your guys' mindset as a team? Do you really pay much attention to all of that?
No, I mean, because at the end of the day, you know, your goal is to obviously, you know, is to win the division. So it doesn't really matter who thinks that you can do what or whatever. It's just what the guys think in your locker room. And, you know, our team believes in itself, you know, and understands, you know, there's a lot to do in this. It's a tough division, but at the same time, you know, there's no room for excuses.
You guys bring in someone from a divisional foe, Justin Turner, joining the Blue Jays from the Red Sox. What do you think he does for the team in helping you guys try and win the division this year?
I mean, man, I think the question is what he doesn't do. You know, he does everything. You know, he's been around a while. You know, he's obviously an extremely professional hitter. You know, he knows how to navigate games. You know, he knows how to navigate things. And I think for us, you know, to have a guy like him in our lineup, you know, guy who had 100 RBIs last year, you know, he understands how to navigate the situation. So, you know, to have him, you know, obviously a guy who's played for some really, really good teams in his past. So it's awesome to have him.
Is it fun to have another big hockey fan on the team as well?
Yeah, that was awesome to know he's a huge hockey guy. You know, I feel like I was kind of on my own with that one, except for maybe Romano. But you know, I'm happy about it.
Yeah, how can you not have more hockey teams on the Toronto Blue Jays? Come on.
Yeah, I don't understand, but you know what? I got my guy now, so I can sit there, I can talk some puck with him all day. I'm good with that.
That's awesome. You know, you mentioned something to me about this team, and, you know, everybody knows this is not a young team anymore. And Danny Jansen got a pop-up right here, but it's over the fence. You and Justin Turner both have over 5,000 plate appearances, and you mentioned something very interesting to me early on, that you've seen just about every pitcher in the league at least 2 or 3 times, and some of these kids haven't. How will that help them going forward as they gain more experience?
Yeah, you know, I think ultimately at the end there's no substitute for experience, and you know, very deservedly so. You know, there's a lot of expectation on a lot of these guys, like this first baseman over here, you know, Bo Bichette. But at the same time, you know, they're still trying to make their way, and I think, you know, that's a part of my job. That's a part of JT's job. That's Bassett. It's Gauzy. You know, it's guys who have that experience, you know, to try to help them navigate it, because obviously, you know, they're, you know, those are two of the most important guys on our team. So, you know, to help them navigate it, you know, and obviously there's guys that they face, you know, that I haven't. So it's all about the team, man.
Speaking of experience, one of the guys you bring back in the offseason, Kevin Kiermaier, and of course you have that, you know, very talented defensive outfield once again. How do you feel about being beside him and Varsho again for the majority of the season?
Oh man, it's incredible. I mean, I think it gets overshadowed, you know, what you know, how good defensively that they both are. You know, they're so good out there that they can cover so much ground. You know, it kind of always amazes me at, you know, how if you watch Dalton, you watch Heike, they're just always in the right spot, and there isn't a ball that gets hit that you're like, wow, man, that, you know, it didn't get caught. But, you know, to have these, that was gas, to have these guys back, man, I love it. It's awesome.
Well, we really appreciate your time, George, and excited to watch you and the rest of the outfield and the rest of the club this season. Good luck with the spring and the upcoming season.
100%, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
All right.
That's George Springer, Blue Jays right fielder, who's out of the game now. Garrett Spain taking over in his place, and the Canadian Deshaun Brown in center field for the Blue Jays as well. Bowden Francis, Buck, this was the half inning that we were really looking at here. Albies, Arcia, d'Arnaud. He's got 2 strikeouts, and d'Arnaud on the ropes right now.
Yeah, he got Arcia with a split finger fastball called strike 3.
Goes with the breaking ball.
Got away from him. You know, Bowden Francis, there's a lot of talk about him using that splitter against lefties, but he's going to use it against righties as well. And it's something that I always fought as a catcher. You know, a lot of guys didn't want to throw their changeup to the same side hitter, and Pete Walker said the same thing. If you've got a good pitch, use it against everybody. Doesn't make any sense to cut yourself short.
3-2 fastball lifted to right. Spain going back, and in his first action, he'll make the catch to end the inning. 6 up, 6 down for Bowden Francis, middle of the 6th in Dunedin. Robertson, the left fielder, leading off for Toronto. And the first pitch is flied foul, 0-1. Second inning of work for Hurston Waldron. Although the Braves starting to turn over a lot of the lineup here as they start to bring in some substitutions. Robertson playing left field today. He told me, though, he's comfortable in all 3 spots, has played more right field in the Blue Jays system, played a lot of left field in college, and told me that he finds center field the easiest for him to play.
Yeah, when you're a non-roster invitee, you're comfortable playing everywhere.
Yeah. You can catch if they ask
I'll
you.
catch if you want me to catch. Just let me play. But he's got the skills to play all 3 outfield positions. He runs well. He's got a strong arm, as you talked about earlier. He threw out a runner at third base here the other day. Just looking to establish himself. Had a pretty good year last year.
Yeah, he did. He did. He ended up batting with an OPS, or on-base plus slugging, of .810. He hit 19 home runs last year. And then he went to the Arizona Fall League and hit even better than that in limited action.
Yeah, and this opportunity here in spring training with the big club is only going to serve him well, no matter where he plays in the minor leagues. You know, you start to see some guys on the mound that you're facing that you watch on TV during the course of the summer, and they're guys that, hey, I can hit that guy. I had a good at bat against that guy. I hit the ball hard against that guy. So it gives you confidence and encouragement that you're doing the right thing.
You can imagine some of that came yesterday when a couple of the Blue Jays got hits off of Garrett Cole. I mean, everyone saw the Daniel Vogelback hit, but a couple other guys were able to get on base against the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner.
Yeah, it's always fun, especially in a night game atmosphere where it really seems like a regular season big league game. It's good for the kids to play in those types of games and see Garrett Cole up close and personal.
Will Robertson aboard with a leadoff walk, and by the way, those changes for the Braves. Drake Baldwin is now the catcher. Alejo Lopez takes over for Albies at second. Nacho Alvarez Jr. is in for Arcia, and Justin Dean is in center field rather than JP Martinez. The Blue Jays obviously in their bench as well now. We talked to George Springer. Hitting in his spot right now is Garrett Spain. Big lead for Robertson, and another swing and a miss from Spain. It's 0-2. Spain in his 3rd game, but only has 2 at-bats before today. Still looking for his first hit. Runner leaves. Swing and a miss on the 0-2. Throw down to second. Got him. What a toss there by Drake Baldwin. Put that right on the money.
Yeah, he did, and the shortstop, Nacho Alvarez Jr., did a good job, and they are teaching middle infielders to come in front of the bag and take that throw from the catcher. And this throw has a little bit of tail on it, moves up the line a little bit, but the shortstop is there to take the throw and tag the runner before he gets there. And watch the tag by Alvarez Jr. He was in front of the base and applies the tag on the base runner.
Lonnie bounces it to third, and a long throw retires him on a bounce to end the inning. So the leadoff walk spoiled, and Waldrop has faced just one over the minimum through 2 innings. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has flashed the leather a couple times today. Going to his right, going to his left. He has shown off his range, his arm, and had 3 assists in the first 4 innings of the game. And we have the pleasure of speaking with Isaiah right now. IKF, it's Ben Schulman and Buck Martinez. Really appreciate your time.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys being around. It's a great day today, and it's beautiful spring training day.
What's it like coming to the Blue Jays after spending the last couple of years with the Yankees and, of course, with the Texas Rangers before? How is spring training different for you, or is it the same old routine for a veteran like yourself?
Tampa's really close, so it's kind of the same routine for the most part. The area and whatnot. Just meeting the new guys was tough, but this group is so great, man. They're very welcoming, and I love being here. This is a great team. When I was playing with the Yankees, this was a team that I always looked at and was always like, this is the team to play for. So I'm really happy to be here.
What were your conversations like with the Blue Jays when the offseason started that ultimately ended up sealing the deal to bring you here?
I think it's just the winning environment. You see these great players. You see Bo and Vladdy and the steps that they've taken, and they still have another step to take. And I'm just looking forward to be a part of it. You got George, KK, and Jano and Kirk, and this team is deep. And I'm really, really excited for this season.
Izzy, when you talk about places you grow up in hotbeds, everybody thinks California, Texas, Florida, but you come from Hawaii. Tell us how big baseball is in Hawaii.
Baseball in Hawaii is actually picking up right now. Sometimes we don't get the credit because the pitching's not there, but the athletes are there, man. There's athletes all over the place, and it's just tough to get exposure. So we have to do a lot of traveling, but for the most part, the baseball is really picking up.
I know you're not old enough to remember, but the Hawaiian Islanders were in the Pacific Coast League, and I would imagine baseball was a bigger thing back then when you had a AAA team in Honolulu.
Yeah, actually, I was a bat boy for the Hawaii Winter League when Todd Frazier was playing, and he used to always make fun of me when we played together in Texas. He'd always tell me to go pick up the bat, but it was cool. It was sad to see it go away. Hopefully they could bring an exhibition game there or something.
You mentioned your time in Texas. You spent a day with Minnesota and then with New York. How have those experiences shaped you as a player now coming into your 4th organization?
It definitely taught me how to meet guys, that's for sure. I met everybody in Minnesota for one day, and then the next day, or that night, I was traded to New York. So I kind of got used to, the traveling and just changing teams. So like I said, this team is very welcoming, and they made it easy for me.
Izzy, they talk about your versatility and the fact you've played every position on the field. Is there a preference for you? What would you like to do? I know versatility is valued in the game today, but what would you like to do as an everyday player? I
want to be valuable. I want to find ways to help this team win a lot of ball games, to take the next step, and just to be an anchor. I want to play as hard as I can. I just want to be an athlete on the field.
Blue Jays making a pitching change right now, but Isaiah, you've played in so many different spots. What was the discussion like for your role with the Blue Jays coming into this season? What kind of positions did they want to see you in, according to what they've said?
Definitely just be ready to cover everywhere, but at the same time, third base was an opportunity. I never got to play third base after I won my Gold Glove in 2020, so I'm excited to get an opportunity to get back there. And yeah, I feel the most natural there, and I don't really have to do any thinking. I just feel like it brings the best out of me when I play third, and but at the same time, I'm ready to play left, play center, short if Bo needs a day, second. So I'm ready to do anything I need to do to help this team.
Because you move around, you have to deal with different infield coaches, and the Blue Jays have a new infield coach here in Carlos Fablas, who was most recently with the Red Sox. What have you learned from Fablas so far, and you're working with him?
We do things game speed here. We work cleats when we take ground balls, which is something that's new. And I think the biggest thing is we're not practicing. Like everything we do is game speed. You see guys drenched in sweat after infield routines. It's not just going through the motions and looking good. It's about, you know, testing your range, making mistakes in practice, and doing anything you can to feel comfortable when it's game time.
You're getting to know these Blue Jay players for the first time. Give me your impression of Bo Bichette standing up early in spring training, kind of saying, hey, fellas, we all need to be better, and we have intentions of winning the World Series.
It's big, but at the same time, you see that he's put in the work. You know, I didn't know he's as good as he is defensively. You looked at his numbers last year, and he had a great year. And just taking ground balls with him, I've been really, really impressed, man. He has a nice stroke with his arm, and, you know, he has really good hands. And I think he's ready to take the next step, man. He's really ready to take that next step to be a full five-tool player.
You talked about in your opening press conference after signing with the Blue Jays that you played supporting roles in the clubhouse to help the stars in New York and some of those guys. What exactly do you mean like that, and what do you think you can do for these young stars and established stars on the Blue Jays as well?
I like to do the dirty work, you know, moving guys over, making the game easier so that those guys can do their job. You know, running first to third, second to home, first to home. Just finding ways to get into scoring position, moving a guy over from second. You know, we have a really great contact team, so if we can run the bases and get into scoring position with less than 2 outs, we got a good chance. You know, we play on the turf, so any bounce can lead to a run, and from there you can get guys going that way. You know, just different ways to win ball games. So it's very exciting because, you know, this lineup is really deep with contact, and even our power guys are contact hitters as well. So it's exciting. Nice play.
That's going to be a nice defensive play there to end the inning. Isaiah, really appreciate the time, and sorry that the great defense cut us a little bit short.
Yeah, no worries. Go Blue Jays. Great talking to you guys.
That's Isaiah Kiner-Falefa after the Spencer Horwitz double play to end the inning. 75 Fahrenheit. And with the clouds still overhead, the new pitcher coming in for the Braves, Jackson Stevens takes over after 2 impressive innings from Hurston Waldrop.
Stevens last year got into 5 games with the Braves and didn't pitch an awful lot, but he is on here in this ball game. 3-0 Atlanta. They scored 3 runs in the first inning, an RBI single by Travis Donon, a 2-run home run by Jordan Luplow. That was off Chris Bassett. And after that, Bassett's really settled down, had a nice outing for his second outing of the spring.
Bowden Francis was very good today, too. 2 1/3, no runs allowed, no hits allowed.
Yeah, no, he was really good, and he retired the first 7 he faced, and then he walked the batter, and that was it for the end of his day. But he was very good and got the splitter in. That was part of the design, and it was very effective. Got him a strikeout of Arcia in the 6th inning.
So now Stevens, the newest pitcher in, and like you said, pitched a little bit last year, pitched 39 times for the Braves in 2022, but last year he dealt not with a tear, but with a UCL injury, an elbow injury. Turner with a full count to start this inning. He walked back in the 4th, struck out in the 1st. The payoff pitch. Inside, ball 4. 2 walks now in this game for Justin Turner.
Yeah, and that's what he does. He understands his role, get on base, and yeah, if you don't get something you can do damage with, he'll take his base and then be lifted for the pinch runner. His day has come to the end with 3 plate appearances, a strikeout, and a pair of walks. Andres Sosa takes over. He'll be the DH for the rest of this ball game.
We've seen a good handful of substitutions on the Braves side, a lot more coming on the Blue Jays side as well, as Bo Bichette fouls one back. 0-1. Just not a lot of offense to come by on either side. Buck, you were mentioning the Braves runs early in the game. They're 0 for their last 18 with 2 walks. Bichette fouls one back, and he's down 0-2.
Yeah, Chris Bassett really settled down after that first inning and gave up the home run to Jordan Luplow. And then after that, he retired 8 in a row to finish up his outing, and I think that's what he's looking more at than anything else. Numbers don't mean a thing to veterans like Bassett, and he just goes out there trying to get his pitches together, sequence his pitches, and refine everything he's getting ready for the season.
Swing and a miss by Bichette, and that's the first out here in the bottom of the 7th.
like a big wide sweeping breaking ball that started over the heart of the plate and broke off the plate away. So Bo will finish up the day 1 for 3. Take a look at this flat breaking ball. It runs away from Bo and just couldn't make contact with it.
Danny Jansen looking to get aboard for the first time today. That's a big breaking ball from Stevens, but it's inside. Jano lined the ball to left field and looked like he might have a hit in the second, but Jordan Luplow, then the left fielder, slid in and made the catch. Ethan Workinger is out there now in left field, and Kevin Kilpatrick has taken over in right as well. Here, the Blue Jays getting Brandon Little loose. Left-hander, first-round pick by the Cubs.
Yeah, you know, one thing about Danny Jansen here this afternoon, too, is, yeah, he likes to get his at-bats and wants to get up there. He's hitting here in the 7th inning, but he got a lot of information about Chris Bassett, and he got a lot of information about Bowden Francis. So he understands now, and how did Bowden Francis stuff play at the end of his outing? Was it as good as it was at the start of his outing? How was the splitter? And you can bet Bowden Francis will meet up with Danny Francis, and they'll debrief over this outing just to see how everything worked together. He certainly looked good, and I'm sure Danny will have a positive report.
Catchers always have a lot of work, but it's got to be just a ton in spring training, from, you know, seeing how Francis is pitching to, of course, all the guys that are on the regular Major League roster. You might need to know what Brendan Little is throwing today and what Adam Macko could be working on, etc. I can't imagine that there is a lot of free time.
Yeah, their dance card is pretty full.
Runner goes on the 3-2, and Jansen ropes it to left. Fair ball rolling into the corner. Sosa never stopped running. Fablich has given him the wave. Jansen into second, jogging, and Sosa will score without a throw. The Blue Jays are on the board.
That was a good at-bat for Danny Jansen, and Sosa, who was just in the ballgame, was running on the pitch, and Jano pulled it down to the left field corner. And watch this swing, and this is what Danny developed so well last year. The ability to hit the ball hard on the inner half of the plate. That was a pretty good pitch. Sosa's running on the pitch, and the ball goes down into the corner. Carlos Fablis has already had a couple of real good calls as the third base coach here this spring. So he saw the ball hang up down in the corner, and he continued to wave Sosa in toward third and gave him the go-ahead to score the Blue Jays' first run of the game.
And after Danny Jansen drives in Andres Sosa, he gets pinch run for. Zach Britton is at second, and the Canadian Dazon Brown is at the plate. Dazon Brown takes outside 2-0. Brown's got a bit of an interesting batting stance. He kind of, it's not exactly the same, but he kind of has that Joe Morgan back elbow waggle kind of thing that he does when he sets up. If you check out his right elbow, it's always moving as he's waiting for the pitch to come in. Just freezes it right before the pitch is delivered, and here he's frozen for strike 2.
Yeah, he's a young, talented hitter that's just trying to establish himself consistently at the plate. He's got defensive skills, and he can really run the ball down in the outfield, but he's trying to have his offense catch up with his defense.
Popped up, foul territory, and that is going to get well into the seats. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, he's definitely got some fans on the Blue Jays Major League Club. I was checking over Jordan Romano's baseball card collection recently, and he had a signed Dazon Brown card in his collection.
Well, you know, those Canadian ballplayers, they stick together.
Yeah.
And, you know what? Sam Brown had a chance to play for the WBC. He played for Ernie Witt in the World Baseball Classic. Didn't get a chance to play an awful lot, but it was a great experience for a young player.
Called strike 3 there, and there are 2 down. Damiano Palmaggiani also getting the experience to be on that team, another player in the Blue Jays system. And after facing 4 batters. That's going to be all here for Jackson Stevens. He gives up a walk and then a double that allows the Blue Jays to get on the board, but it's still a Braves lead 3-1 here in the bottom of the 7th. Toronto looking for a comeback, tying run at the plate. 2 outs, and Jake McSteen, the lefty who was in Double-A for the Braves last year, misses outside to Tanner Morris, the third baseman who throws right, bats left in kind of a hunched over stance.
This is the second appearance for McSteen with Atlanta this spring. He had a good inning of work against the Red Sox. He had 1 inning, no hits, no walks, and a strikeout.
He's coming off a solid season, made 40 appearances for Mississippi at Double-A. Earned run average just over 4. 2-0. Ground ball left side, might have broken the bat, picked up by the new third baseman Phillip Evans, who options to first, and McSteen gets out of the inning in 3 pitches. Blue Jays get on the board though here in the bottom of the 7th. Top of the 8th inning in Dunedin. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on a Saturday afternoon, and thanks and welcome to all of the viewers from Bally Sports South as well. It's the Blue Jays and the Braves, and Brendan Little is the new pitcher for the Blue Jays. The left-hander misses outside to Phillip Evans, 1-0. Little, someone who the Blue Jays traded for right kind of at the last hour before he was going to end up being a free agent, added him to the 40-man roster after acquiring him in November of 2023, and clearly at least have some interest here as they traded for him rather than trying to get him on the open market.
Yeah, and Little is kind of an interesting guy. This is his 3rd appearance of the spring. He's been impressive over 2 innings. He's got a couple of strikeouts. He's got a heavy sinking fastball. That last pitch was 96 miles an hour with a lot of late movement, but he's also got a very good curveball. I think that's what's intriguing to Pete Walker, is the fact that he can spin that breaking ball. He's going to get an awful good look here in the spring. And that breaking ball was pretty hard at 93, but he would throw a hard cutter slider, and then he'll throw a good curveball as well.
That one sailing to the backstop, so it'll be a leadoff walk here. Let's go down to Arden Zwelling with more on Brendan Little.
Well, as Buck identified, that 93-mile-per-hour pitch is actually a cutter from Brandon Little that he began throwing late last season. It's going to be a big weapon for him against right-handed hitters who tend to hang out over the plate and hunt that big, heavy sinker away. Little wanted to add that at the end of the year. It's part of the reason why the Blue Jays picked him up. David Howell, their assistant pitching coach, is a very big fan of that offering. He called Little in the offseason and told him to continue working on it.
Arden, it really worked, and last year, Little, you know, he isn't the strikeout guy that he maybe was early in his career, but he was able with that mix to produce 64% ground ball rate. So almost 2/3 of the guys who made contact with the baseball against Little put it on the ground last year.
Yeah, obviously the first time that Pete Walker's had a real good close look at Brendan Little, but he likes the mix. He told me the other day, he said, you know, I like him. I think he's got to be a chance to be a guy like Brett Cecil. And Brett Cecil had a very good career for the Blue Jays. Initially thought he was going to be a starter, but he became a very valuable relief pitcher and turned into a pretty good free agent. He signed with St. Louis, but that didn't really pan out well for him in St. Louis. But, boy, if he could give you that kind of left-handed arm out of the pen, that's really valuable.
Swing and a miss there, and a strikeout of Luke Williams for out number 1. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of guys would take being Brett Cecil. He was, you know, the feature left-handed reliever alongside Aaron Loop for the 15 and 16 playoff teams, and he got hurt in 16 in the playoffs or right before. That really ended up hurting the Blue Jays a little bit on that run.
Yeah, that last pitch was that good curveball, and he can break it off down and in and get a lot of swings and misses on that curveball. So I think he has the ability not only to get ground balls, but also to get strikeouts in tough situations.
First time at the plate for Justin Dean. Took over in center field just a couple innings ago. Tried to hold back there. Called strike anyway. Blue Jays have new defenders on the infield, by the way, and in the outfield. Little working with Zach Britton behind the plate. We saw Spencer Horwitz turn that double play. You got Manuel Beltre at second, Josh Kasevich at short, Tanner Morris the third baseman, Devontae Brown in left, Desan Brown in center, and Garrett Spain in right.
Oh no!
1-2 in the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, this is the previous pitch. It's a cutter. And look at the movement on that pitch. It's 94 miles an hour. So when you throw 97 and then you back it up with a good curveball and finish things off with a 94 mile an hour cutter, that's legit. That's going to get everybody's attention. And there's that heavy sinker. That ball just disappears down and in. Going to get a lot of ground balls. But boy, he's got an interesting arsenal of pitches. And he's going to get a long look from that guy right there, Pete Walker. That's pretty interesting stuff I'm looking at.
Little peeking over at first at Evans. And he gets the strikeout here. That was the cutter again.
94. I mean, you don't see many cutters at 94 with that kind of movement. I mean, that's not a little cutter. That's a big, hard running cutter. And there's no chance for this right-handed hitter. You can see he swings and misses it by about a foot. I don't care who you are or what kind of hitter you are. That's a tough pitch to connect to.
Alejo Lopez at the plate, choking up here and crouching down as well. He takes ball one. Lopez in the spot of Ozzie Albies, so we're at the top of the order again for the Atlanta Braves. Call a strike to even up the count. Alejo Lopez, born in Mexico, but moved to Arizona, and so he was draft eligible, picked by the Cincinnati Reds back in 2015. Little started this inning with a walk, but has struck out back-to-back batters. Fighting from behind right now. The 2-1. A little bit upstairs, 3 balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, when you have the assortment of pitches that Brendan Little features, he's got to fill up the strike zone. I mean, he could throw all of his pitches for strikes, and there's no reason to try to be fine with your pitches because you've got so much movement on your fastball, your curveball, and your cutter. He shouldn't walk anybody.
It's the second walk of the inning now.
I tell you what, when you're catching a guy like Little, you can give him the sign for location, but physically don't move from the middle of the plate. Stay behind the middle of the plate because his movement on all of his pitches is going to take it to the corners. So Zach Britton, the catcher, is out there to talk to him now and say, hey, man, don't try to be too fine with your stuff. I mean, it's filthy. And you don't see left-handers with this kind of arm and this kind of stuff very often. So good on the Blue Jays to identify this. Boy, this is a name out of the past, isn't it? Eric Pardinho signed as a 16-year-old out of Brazil, and he's been plagued by arm issues, and it's good to see him pitching again.
Pardinho, part of minor league camp, called on today by the Blue Jays. They might get an opportunity here. You wonder how much longer they'll let Little go. Already 20 pitches thrown for the left-hander. Nacho Alvarez, the batter for Atlanta, entering his 3rd year of pro ball. Was drafted at 19 years old, played just 1 year at prep school, Riverside City College in California. And Little here in danger of a 3rd walk this inning.
Yeah, that ball is just moving all over the place. He's just trying to throw a strike, and that's one thing that all pitchers have to be able to do is throw a strike whenever you need one. And he needs one now.
Finds one there to keep the plate appearance alive. Zach Britton giving the signs behind the plate. 3-1 is down and in, ball 4. The bases have been walked loaded. And Pete Walker is going to go out and talk to the left-hander.
Pete did this a couple days ago with T.J. Brock on Wednesday. Brock came into the game in the 9th inning in a 3-2 ball game, walked the first 2 batters. Pete went to the mound and said, "Boy, you've created quite a mess here." And all Brock could do is kind of smile at him and says, "Yeah." I said, "Now, you like this stuff. Pitch your way out of it." I think it's going to be a similar message right here. Say, "Hey, man, your stuff is too good to walk 3 guys in an inning. Let's go. Trust your stuff, man. You can get out of it." And I think that's what Pete wants to do. He doesn't want to take him out of the game. He wants to see how he's going to handle this situation.
When the Blue Jays were in Tampa on Sunday, there was an interesting quote from DeMarlo Hale about that. He said, you don't want guys to be in tough spots, but you do want to see how they adjust and what they do once they're put in difficult situations. Little does get to face a left-hander here in catcher Drake Baldwin. First one is high and tight.
You know, and a lot of this I don't think is the pitcher's fault. As they're coming through the minor leagues, they talk velocity, spin rate, shape of pitches. They forget to talk about pitching. What do you do in a tough situation? What do you do when you need to throw a strike? What pitch can you count on? And now he's just battling it. He's just trying to throw it over. But if you're going to be a major league pitcher, you have to be able to have a pitch that you can throw a strike with anytime. Anywhere. You got to be able to throw a strike with your eyes closed.
Is that the fastball for most guys?
I hope so. You would think it should be. Almost hit him with that one. And now he's done. He's kind of fried for this outing. But, boy, I like his stuff. And we're going to see him again.
Struck out 2 of the first 3 he saw, but 3 walks here and in danger of a 4th for Brendan Little. There's a strike. We'll see if Little can battle through this.
That's always one thing that gets me as a catcher. You see a pitcher go 3-0 and then throw a strike at will. So why don't you do that on the first pitch? Change this at bat a lot.
There's another. And Little still got a shot here. It's 3-2. All 3 runners are going to get a head start here on the pitch.
Well, one thing, he's thrown a lot of pitches. This next pitch will be his 30th.
The 3-2. Ground ball sneaks through into left field. Evans scores. Lopez getting the wave. They're going to wave Alvarez as well. And it's a bases clearing double for Drake Baldwin. Blue Jays were playing Baldwin off the line, and he found that hole down the third baseline and into left field.
Well, Baldwin saw a lot of pitches, obviously, and just put the bat on the ball, and the defense was set up around the other way, and that's going to be the end of the outing. 30 pitches for Brendan Little, not what he was hoped for, but there's a lot of good stuff in that arm.
Top of the 8th inning, and the right-hander Eric Pardinho takes over. Brazilian pitcher in the Blue Jays system who spent the last couple seasons for the most part at high A, and Buck just a guy that with a lot of talent has not been able to stay very healthy.
Now, it's unfortunate. He's had a lot of elbow issues, and he's still a young man, and there's still some opportunities for him. But I tell you what, he was a high prospect early in his career. He had good arm, threw a lot of strikes in that first pitch. 95, gets a foul ball.
Ethan Workinger at the plate for the Braves. Workinger from California actually was coached in Little League and trained before the draft by former Blue Jay Reed Johnson. Called strike 2. Pardinho, to go back to him, had just a really strong start to his Blue Jays minor league career, but everything kind of post 2020 has been marred by injury. Line drive to right field. Spain going back, twists and makes the catch. Bases clearing double for Drake Baldwin, and the former Rocky Tommy Doyle takes over on the mound for the Braves.
Yeah, Tommy Doyle coming in, trying to get a good inning of work here. Atlanta leads at 6-1. They scored 3 in the first and 3 in the 8th. And Doyle was originally drafted by the Rockies in the 17th draft, 2017 draft in the second round out of the University of Virginia.
He's facing Manuel Beltre, middle infielder, playing second base today. First appearance of the spring for Beltre, who spent all of last year with single-A Dunedin. Even count now. Doyle's a guy the Blue Jays saw last year twice when the Blue Jays were in Colorado late in the season. Scored 4 runs against Doyle in 2 appearances. He's ahead in the count now, 1-2.
You mentioned parts of 2 seasons with Colorado, just a total of 18 games overall. Beltre got into some games last spring with the Blue Jays. He appeared in 6 games, had a total of 5 at-bats. Just kind of a fill-in in a similar role to what you're seeing this afternoon. Just come in late in the game, maybe get an at-bat here or there.
He's a very young guy, 19 years old, from the Dominican Republic, and this has got to be great experience for a 19-year-old. Swing and a miss. Doyle with a strikeout here to start the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, it looked like that breaking ball is starting on the outer half of the plate and then broke down and away out of the strike zone. Doyle is a big, tall pitcher, 6'6", and creates a very challenging angle. He gets on top of that breaking ball, and Beltre swings right over the top of it. Never really had a chance. That ball started basically on the outside corner and broke down and away.
First time at the plate today for Devontae Brown. Played 5 seasons at NC State because of the shortened 2020 season. And since coming to the Blue Jays organization, has pretty much done nothing but hit, including hitting 18 home runs last year between high A and double A. The Blue Jays getting Nate Pearson loose here with 1 more frame to go. Brown with a chopper to third on 1 bounce. Evans to first.
Blue Jays have managed just 3 hits today. Bo had a base hit back in the second, as did Kevin Kiermaier. 2 of their 3 hits came in the second inning, and then Danny Jansen had the RBI double in the 7th. That's it, just 3 hits overall. Atlanta's only had 4, but they've made the most of their 4 hits, scoring 6 runs.
Yeah, they have 2 extra base hits out of their 4 hits. Garrett Spain takes inside in his second chance at the plate. And really the first 4 batters have decided this game so far, although the Braves adding to their lead in the top of the 8th inning with a bases clearing double by Drake Baldwin. Tommy Doyle, the pitcher for the Braves, has worked quickly so far. Behind in the count now, though, against Spain. The Blue Jays offense yesterday got a little bit going. Daniel Vogelbach hit a home run off Garrett Cole, and then we saw the first home run of the spring for Davis Schneider, and there's another Blue Jays base hit as Garrett Spain gets aboard. Maybe the Blue Jays here primed for a 2-out rally.
That ball looked like it was up about belt high, and Spain was able to get on top of it. He hit into a double play his last time up. You can see how high that pitch was. He puts a nice swing on it. It's rewarded with a base hit.
So that'll give Spencer Horwitz an opportunity in the bottom of the 8th inning. Horwitz grounds it foul, 0-1. Last 2 times Horwitz has had the ball hit his way at first base, he's turned double plays both times. He did it in this game, catching a liner and doubling up a runner, and then he started a 3-6-3 double play 2 days ago.
Yeah, and that was a very good play on a hot shot that he gloved, and then made a good throw to second. That's back to cover the bag for the return throw.
I know you spoke to Horwitz on Thursday, and he was feeling confident in his ability to win a game of Settlers of Catan against Ernie and Davis Schneider. Well, unfortunately, I can update you that he did not win either of the 2 games that they played that day, but he's got a little less experience than those guys do. The 0-2 pitch is high, and Horwitz using that good eye of his to stay alive.
Yeah, he's looking for his first hit of the spring. He's 0 for 7 so far. But he has drawn 4 walks as he has done throughout his minor league career. He knows how to get on base.
Liner down the right field line, hooks foul.
Out in front of that pitch, just a tad, looked like an off-speed pitch. It may have been a cutter inside. He is able to fight it off and stay alive.
That pitch at 91 miles an hour. Garrett Spain is the runner on first. He singled to keep the inning alive. New first baseman for the Braves also, Cade Bunnell. And a swing and a miss. Doyle strands the 2-out base hit. The Blue Jays will bring a flamethrower out of the pen when we return. The right-hander Nate Pearson on the mound for the Blue Jays. First pitch misses outside, 1-0. Cal Conley, the batter now for the Braves. And the 1-0 from Pearson is called strike 1. We've seen Bowden Francis today, Zach Pop, Nate Pearson. These guys all potentially in the mix here to try and make this ball club. Pearson misses outside, 2-1.
This is the second outing for Nate Pearson. His first one, he had kind of a rough outing, gave up a couple of home runs and 4 runs overall in just 2/3 of an inning. Faced 8 batters.
Swing and a miss. That was a fastball with a lot of arm side run. It's 2-2. Nate, another one of the guys who is trying to add the splitter to his repertoire. Ground ball up the first base line. Pearson fields himself. Easy play to Horwitz. 1 down. Let's go to Arden Zwelling on the field.
I want to give you a quick Ricky Tiedemann update. He's been sidelined for over a week with that left hamstring issue, but he threw a side session on Thursday. He felt good. The velo and stuff was sound, according to people who were there. And Tiedemann is now scheduled to throw a live batting practice tomorrow, Sunday, at the Blue Jays Player Development Complex. From there, he'll get into games on a regular 5-day basis, assuming that things go well. And the belief is he still has enough time to ramp up to 4 or 5 innings ahead of the regular season.
That'd be big for the Blue Jays. He is consensus, Buck, the top prospect really in the Blue Jays system.
No question about it. He was supposed to start the first game of the spring, but had a hamstring issue, and they thought like it would be better to skip him. And now he's working his way back into the progression of getting live batting practice. His side went well, as Arden mentioned, up to 96 in that side session with all of his pitches, and then he'll throw to batters and then get back into live BP and maybe game action soon. So that's good news.
Pearson ahead of Kevin Kilpatrick Jr. 1-2. In the week leading up to games, you and I saw Chad Dallas and Tiedemann throw side by side, and I mean Chad Dallas' stuff also really good. Looking at Tiedemann's stuff though, it was just incredible to watch some of his pitches move. Here's a charge from Josh Kasevich at third, at short, and not in time. Infield single for Kilpatrick, but Tiedemann does really have an interesting repertoire. What do you think about it?
Oh, I love his stuff. There's no question about his stuff. He throws a fastball, a slider, and a changeup, and he's got an unusual arm action. It's a little bit lower than the normal release point, and it can create problems. Years ago, there's a left-hander that pitched for the Mets and eventually for the Orioles, and Sid Fernandez was that left-hander that had a funky arm angle, but boy, he could really compound and confuse hitters because that arm was down, but the ball carried so well for him. Ricky Tiedemann's got a little bit of that, but the biggest thing is he's got to pitch. He hasn't pitched much because of injuries. He's got to get some innings and gain some experience.
Pearson misses in the dirt to Phillip Evans, who walked to start the 3-run 8th for the Braves.
But there's no question about Tiedeman's potential. But you know what? Now it's time for him to start logging some innings. He's not really had a full season. Had a great finish to his Arizona Fall League. He was named pitcher of the Arizona Fall League. And now it's a matter of getting him back on the mound and just getting the innings built up.
Yeah, had multiple different injuries last year. The biceps injury was the one that kind of kicked it off. Braves getting ready for the bottom of the 9th inning. Pearson misses away again to make it 2-2. A ground out and an infield single to short. And now Pearson with a strikeout, and there are 2 down.
Got that fastball in a good spot upstairs, a little late run, and it runs up and in, and he gets the swing and miss. The second out of the inning. That ground ball base hit was just such a weak roller that they didn't have much of a chance to record it now, but you can see pretty good movement on that ball, top of the zone. And just tied up the hitter, Phillip Evans.
Now Cade Bunnell with his first at-bat. He came in for Luke Williams, who was the last starter for Atlanta to sub out the first baseman. Bunnell with a lot of power, 15 home runs in each of the last 3 minor league seasons, 15 or more home runs. And kind of a long shot to even be here. A 40th round pick by the Braves out of Indiana in 2019, a round that no longer exists. Two-0 is hammered down the right field line. Spain is chasing it into the corner, and he makes the catch just in fair territory to end the inning. Nate Pearson retires 3 of 4 he faces, and Espino, the veteran, making his second start of the spring. Here's Ben Bowden on the mound, the left-hander for the Braves. What'd you think of Espino in his first start, Buck, as Andres Sosa ropes the first ball down the line? Fair ball bouncing off the retaining wall. Sosa is charging for second base and will get there standing.
Andres Sosa entered the game as a pinch runner in the 7th and scored on Danny Jansen's double down the corner. To get back to your question, Espino, a veteran pitcher, he's pitched well, and he's certainly, you know, probably going to be a depth pitcher down in the minor leagues, but he's a veteran pitcher that can throw a lot of strikes and give them some experience should they need an extra starter in the course of a season.
Josh Kasevich now at the plate, the shortstop. Called strike 1 from Bowden.
Bowden's not a youngster. He's now 29 years old, originally drafted by the Rockies in the 2nd round out of Vanderbilt. Big guy. He's 6'4", weighs 249. But he's not a big, hard thrower. His fastball is about 88. That off-speed pitch, 82.
Closed games for the Commodores by the end of his career. In 2016, picked up 10 saves. Swing and a miss. He gets a strikeout here of Josh Kasevich. 1 out with Zach Britton coming to the plate.
And that fastball away, and he got it to the outside part of the plate. So you just look at what he has done, and just being a guy that's kind of pitched more in the minors than he has in the big leagues.
Faces his first left-handed hitter of the inning, but deals inside to Zach Britton. 1-0. This is Britton's first chance to hit. He pinch ran for Danny Jansen after Jansen doubled in the first and only Blue Jays run so far. Tapper behind the plate, foul, picked up by Baldwin in the batter's box. Britton, a versatile guy, can catch like he is today, can play a little bit of first, has played a lot of outfield as well, did that for the majority of the time in the Blue Jays system last year.
Yeah, and I asked him about that. He says, yeah, I really prefer to catch. And obviously, as a left-handed catcher, you know, there's always an opportunity for you, whether it's with the Blue Jays or another organization. He's kind of very interesting because he is athletic, like you mentioned. He can run the bases and he can play in the other outfield positions, but he feels like he's best suited to be a catcher.
Britton catching today, subbing in for Danny Jansen. Andres Sosa on second, and a foul back, 2-2. Sosa, obviously another guy who can catch. Blue Jays have a whole catcher's corner in the clubhouse with, you got McDowell, and you got Bill Clark, and you got Brian Servin and Peyton Henry, and of course Alejandro Kirk and Danny Jansen there as well.
Yeah, they put all those catchers together so they can share their information and kind of keep up to date on everything that's going on. Hey, who'd you catch today? Well, I caught this guy, and he threw pretty good. How about that guy? Well, yeah, I caught him in the game the other day. He threw well. So you always want them together so they can exchange as much information as possible.
3-2 pitch. Fought off to stay alive.
And did a pretty good job of getting to that pitch. It was in a good spot down and away. He was able to foul it off and works himself into another pitch. This pitch is a pretty good breaking ball down and away, and he just gets a piece of it, stay alive.
3-2 again. And Britton powers this one to right field. That's going to get down right in front of the track. Sosa will score easily, and the Blue Jays have made it 6-2.
Well, there you go. You know, you fouled off a very good pitch, and you worked the pitcher into a mistake. He left that one over the heart of the plate, and Britton took advantage of it. First double of the spring, picks up an RBI, and he puts a good swing on this pitch. And we mentioned he got to that nasty breaking ball just enough to foul it off, and then this one stayed on the inside part of the plate, and he took advantage of that.
The offense has been all about the catchers today. The Danny Jansen double, and then Andres Sosa and Zach Britton doubling to double up the Blue Jays run total today. Still trailed by 4 with Desan Brown, born in Oakville, at the plate right now.
Brown was caught looking his only at bat back in the 7th inning. And it was against Jackson Stavins.
Brown playing in center field today, batting in the spot of Kiermaier. Now down in the count again, it's 1-2. Britton on second after the RBI double, the 1-2 pitch. Fouled back. Tanner Morris on deck for the Blue Jays. Good take there. That was a hair below the knees.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a good take. He just didn't have a chance to pull the trigger. That was a borderline pitch, a tough one to take, but the call goes in his favor.
2-2. That one low all the way, and Brown has a full count. Maybe that one a good take.
That was a very easy one to take. He saw out of the hand it was going to be low, so now he's got a full count.
2 doubles and a strikeout this inning for Blue Jays hitters. 3-2 pitch. Ball 4. Blue Jays have something cooking here in the bottom of the 9th inning. The tying run is now on deck for the Blue Jays. And at the plate is Tanner Morris. Morris 1 for 4 so far in the spring. Takes a pitch outside. A little bit of a loss of control here from Ben Bowden, who was ahead a ball and 2 strikes on Desan Brown, walked him, and now starts off Morris with the ball. Swinging a fly ball to left, going back, working her at the track, reaches up and makes the catch. 2 outs. For a moment there, it looked like Workinger maybe didn't have a great beat on the ball, but he recovered.
Yeah, he recovered in time. I agree with you. He kind of hesitated for a moment as if he didn't see it off the bat, but then he was able to make the move and make the catch.
Kind of a light gray sky right now, overcast, not the easiest to catch balls in. Blue Jays down to their final out. Manuel Beltre takes strike one.
Beltre struck out against Tommy Doyle in his only plate appearance back in the 8th inning.
Inside.
19-year-old started his Blue Jays organizational career in the Dominican Republic, came to the United States in 2022 to play rookie ball there, and has played a lot here in Dunedin. Now the Blue Jays down to their final strike. A slow offensive day on both sides. 6 hits for the Blue Jays, and Zach Britton and Danny Jansen doubles being the hits that drove in runs for the Braves. A big first inning and a big 8th inning has them up 6-2. Ben Bowden's 1-2 pitch. Ground ball deep in at third, fielded by Evans. Long throw to first. What a play to end the game. The Braves win it 6-2 on a highlight reel defensive play over at third.
A terrific play as he throws out Beltre to end the ball game, and the ball took him into foul territory, but he gets enough on it and did a good job. Evans filling in at third base. Watch how far he ranges to his right. The ball's going to take him into foul ground. He jumps and fires in time to get Beltre to end the ball game. Pitching was dominant here today. The Braves had 2 3-run innings, and that was it.
The Blue Jays fall in this one 6-2. They're now 2-6, but some big positives. 2 1/3 scoreless from Bowden Francis, and some big hits from some of the catchers. Appreciate you tuning in today. Blue